So hi, welcome to the Good Noise Podcast. We're here with the Gunz Show today. We're going to ask them some questions.
Yeah.
I'm going to start. How did you get your name?
It's actually my last name.
Oh,
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
It's the first four letters of my last name are Gunz. I don't tell people the rest of it,
Okay.
but that's where Gunz came from. And I always was like, if I'm ever gonna have a show, I would call it the Gunz Show.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I have like merchandise that says the Gunz Show, and obviously all my Twitter and Instagram and all my handles are the Gunz Show as well, because I figure if you don't like. If you have the name Gunz, you got to go with the Gunz Show.
Yeah,
I mean,
Exactly.
come on.
Yeah.
Because
Of
it's such a badass name, you know
Yeah,
what I
Yeah,
mean?
you can't
Like,
waste that opportunity.
Yeah, that's such a great
Exactly.
name.
yeah.
Honestly,
So
dude.
yeah, so that's where it came from. It's funny though, because sometimes people will meet me and they'll be like, "You're Gunz," thinking like if they just listen to me and don't like see me
Uh-huh.
or like look at my photos or whatnot, they'll be like they expect me to be some like jacked, like all tattooed, like
Mhm.
huge weightlifter guy with the name Gunz. But yeah, no, it's actually my last name. So
That's so
That's
cool.
awesome.
I didn't know that. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
yeah,
Cool.
so it's cool. Yep.
So we know, obviously, you interview like tons of bands. I've personally watched them all. Not to flex or anything. What is the band that made you kind of just when you heard that you were going to interview them? Like, what surprised you the most?
I mean, I get really excited for a lot of my interviews still. I get
Of course.
excited to interview my friends because I know the interviews are going to be awesome. So like anytime All Time Low's on, like I always have a blast with them. So I get excited.
Mhm.
I think like not early, but it was funny because like, you know, I've had like I had 21 Pilots on like before their first like full length even came on, but
Yeah.
they weren't anything like, they weren't even big at the time, not even close to being big. They were playing like in front of 20 people.
Oh, yeah,
So-
yeah.
So like I get pumped when I speak with, I usually get Josh on the show, so I get excited to speak with him. But like when I first interviewed them, I didn't even think anything of it because I was like,
Yeah.
oh, they're just good musicians.
Mhm.
Fallout Boy is always fun, or was always fun in the beginning, especially because they kind of hit it off like with that second album.
Hmm.
That was the one that really blew them up with Sugar We're Going Down and everything.
Oh, yeah.
So, and that came so quickly, even though they had been touring for a couple of years. When that album came out, it skyrocketed them into like fame.
Yeah.
And when they came on like around that era, that was always like, I was probably not really nervous, but just like, don't screw this up type moment.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
because it's
definitely.
the real deal. But like Mark Hoppus, because I was always such a huge Blink-182 fan, that was probably like one of my biggest like ones that mattered to me personally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Back in the
I understand
day.
that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So you kind of hinted at it, but like, what bands do you look forward to talking to, like sitting down and being able to just catch up?
I think anybody with I love talking to my friends, and
Of
luckily,
course,
like
yeah.
I've been doing this for long enough, or touring, or going to so many shows throughout my life that I've become friends or like acquaintances with a lot of the bands out there. So I love being able to catch up with them, and via the Gunz Show. Like the fact is, we can do it over the phone, we can do it over Zoom, etc. So they don't have to physically be in New York City. In the beginning, they had to be in New York City, so because technology just wasn't as good, or like it was just kind of harder.
Yeah.
So I love talking to like my friends and bands and stuff. But I also like anyone who has a unique story, or like the artists out there that like if I hear their music
Mhm.
and I'm just like, damn, who is this? I look forward to speaking with them. Like there's this band called Valley
Yeah.
from Canada, and they just did the band Camino tour. And it was funny because seeing them live, I was told, all right, make sure you get there early and check them out. So I was just there live with the band Camino guys, and they're like, yo, we're going to go watch Valley. I go, okay, cool. And as soon as I heard them, I was like, wow, this is awesome. Like seeing them live. And that doesn't really happen. I've seen so many bands out there and artists that, and like so many come and go, et cetera. So like for a band to stick out, like I was like, damn. And then I went up to the lead singer afterwards because we were up on like the balcony and stuff in New York City, and at Webster Hall. And I was like, hey man, like I do a radio show here in New York City. I was like, would love to have you on, man. Like, first time hearing you guys, it was awesome. And he goes, you're Gunz, right? And I go, yeah.
Wow.
This dude, he goes, I used to come home from high school and listen to your shows. He goes, I would stay up late and listen to like your old interviews with the Maine when you would have them on and all this stuff from like 6-7 years ago. And now
Yeah.
he's the lead singer of the band and on stage. And he
Oh
was
my
like, dude,
God.
it's so, and he's from like Toronto or something up in Canada. He's like, it's so great to meet you, man. He's like, I literally would stay up late. My parents would like yell at me, and I'd like sneak and just like listen on my headphones to your live show. That is like totally full circle because they're such a really good band. And I was just introducing myself to him. He's like, dude, you're fucking Gunz. So I was like, yeah, dude, hell yeah.
Dude.
Damn.
So like stories like that come full circle. I get really excited. I get really excited about bands that are, up and coming that really want to do it and like, have that passion and stuff, because that's what it's all about. So
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So speaking of bands you've interviewed, what has been your favorite band that you've spoken to? Like you look back at that interview sometimes and you're just like, oh man, that was a good one.
I mean, I've done so many interviews.
I know.
I had like Cobra Starship was really one that stood out because I had a 1 hour sit down with Gabe from Cobra Starship, and that was really kind of important to me, especially at that time, because Cobra Starship had a couple like number one singles or really big singles, and they were starting to make it big, and it was a full 1 hour show. And a lot of times, you guys know how it is with the interviews, like especially with the bigger bands, you'll only get maybe like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and he gave me a full 1 hour. So I felt that one was really important as far as my career at that time. The all-time low ones are always chaos. I mean, in like the best possible way, because those are my dudes. So I love every time All Time Low's on. Like, it doesn't matter who's on. We have so much fun. It's just wild. I've had so many different, but it's just, some all do different things. Some of them will come on and they'll start interviewing me or play games with me, or like sometimes they'll show up to the studio and like bring beers and stuff, and you're okay, like, all right, guess we're drinking now,
It's a party.
So I mean, I'm just fortunate. There's not. I've done so many that they all are separate. Like, I still go back and listen to some of them, and I'm like, oh my god, like I sounded terrible, or my voice was so weird in the beginning, or like just the words I would say, or my demeanor, or the way I would talk, and sometimes use the word like a lot, or stutter a lot. Like, it just takes a while to just get better at what you do. But I mean, the All Time Low, I'm Forever the Sickest Kids, like the Somerset ones were always fun. I try to make every interview as interesting as possible. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't, but at least I know I'm having fun when I do it. So
okay, that's a good answer.
So how did you get your job with like alt press? Because that's a job that people dream of.
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
I mean, I was always a big alternative press supporter. Like, would subscribe to their magazines, go to like their Warped Tour tent all the time. And it was just that I started the Gunz Show, and there was really nothing else quite like it. And I started building it up like on the digital and internet side of things. And then like I was interviewing all the bands, and like I was doing Warped Tours and touring with bands and different tours. And I was interviewing, becoming friends with all the bands and stuff. And Alt Press had hit me up a couple years ago. They were like, hey, you're Gunz. You speak with everybody anyway, like just to begin with, why not come out to the Alt Press Music Awards and be like our red carpet like host, as well as be the one to introduce everybody up on stage, to kind of like do the, not the presenter, but like be the voice behind it, as well as like get the crowd pumped up, because I love being excited, obviously. Like I love, whether it's DJing on the stage or whatever. So, I just formed a relationship with Alt Press, and they were like, we have, I told them I wanted to do more video stuff. And Adobe Radio, which is what the Gunz Show's on, obviously is all audio, but, I still have a digital presence. And I was doing a lot of video interviews, but, having Alt Press as an outlet to put them on, they reached out and they were like, why don't you work for us? Why don't you do be our NYC guy? Because every tour is going to go through New York City, because it's New York City. Yeah. So they kind of reached out. We made like an agreement, and we've had some really good interviews. I've had everybody from like the water parks ones are always great with Austin. He's always my favorite. He's always a good interview too, because he's wild.
Yeah, he is.
But yeah, the water parks ones are always good. But we've had like Sum 41, The Used, All Time Low. But then also like Incubus came on, which was like one of like a huge fan of mine, like growing up. So that was cool. And just being able to interview, like we were going to do Kiss right before all this started. And like Kiss is just like these rock legends. Like would I be able to get them on my own? Probably not. But with Alt Press's help, I was able to line that up. Unfortunately, it didn't happen because of the coronavirus. But so Alt Press has been nothing but great. And the series is called One on Gunz. And that's actually one of my alt press features from like, I think they put me in like 4 or 5 years ago. They did a whole thing on me.
Cool.
In that one, and then I have another one over there hanging up too.
Awesome.
That's so cool.
So alt press is cool. I mean, especially like growing up, like a lot more people bought magazines at the time, and now alt press is doing more digital stuff in their articles. Their magazines are so awesome because I think fans love having a physical thing to like kind of hold and kind of flip through or like whatever. And so, but especially growing up, like I subscribed to it and I was going to the shows that they were sponsoring and all that. So it was just about just networking and just being, you know, being cool.
Yeah, just finally like reaching out and yeah, it's so cool. Awesome. So you were actually talking about how many interviews you've done, that's been so many. How do you stay like energized if it's like the end of the day and you're doing an interview sitting down with a band and you're always just so like full of energy? That's why like I admire you, because you literally always snap back constantly. Yeah. How do you do that?
I take naps and
okay, cool.
I live on naps. No, it's crazy. I think it's because if someone's going to give me the time to interview them, then like I want to make sure I'm giving them 110%. Yeah. But also it comes down to the fact that I love music. I am a huge music fan. You know, it got me through all my, you know, terrible times in life and whatnot, or whenever I was down or like through high school and all that, you know, kind of being not depressed, but like whatever you want to call it, just like, you know, life sucked in high school. We all hated high school at times. So music was that thing that was that constant that got me through, you know, whatever thing I was going through. So being able to interview these bands that like I go out and support and go out and see on stage and just, I'll listen to, and whether I'm getting ready to party and want to crank it up and just start, you know, a dance party, or whether I'm just chilling and like just driving around and vibing or whatnot. Like it's, I just love music that much. So when I'm able to interview and speak with these people, to be able to like go into their brains and figure out how they wrote these songs and stuff has just been always something like I respect and look up to, and everyone's got kind of their own story. So it comes down to that. I'm just an energetic guy.
Yeah,
I just love what I do. I love what I do.
I respect it. Yeah,
that's awesome. I'm glad you do.
Thanks. Yeah.
So what is the worst thing that has happened during an interview? Like horror stories.
Yeah.
Who I've I had somebody who was an asshole to me, and they were a pretty big name. I won't say who it is.
Okay.
Because it's been a couple of years. They were an asshole to me on the air, and I just hung up on them.
Okay.
And said, fuck you.
Good.
I respect that.
Fuck you, I'm out.
Exactly.
Pretty big name. Pretty big name. Like, did multiple Warped Tours and stuff, and like a not solo artist, but like his name is like recognizable. And I just hung up. I was like, fuck you, dude. I don't need this bullshit.
Damn. Yeah, exactly.
So I've had that experience. I've had, you know, sometimes bands are, you know, if they're in the middle of the country and they're touring, they're exhausted. So sometimes like every interview is not going to be amazing because they're just tired, or like, you know, they're dealing with something on their own. So that does happen. But like, the horror stories are kind of like if you forget to hit record, or, you know, or you set up this interview and all of a sudden like their phone goes dead and like it's a big artist and you're like, I had to wait 3 weeks for this to happen. Like, oh my God, what do I do? Or like if the microphone suddenly shut, like you can't hear them, like just technical stuff is usually the biggest horror story. Yeah. Because once I'm good with them, I know I'm going to have a good time. And if not, it's on them. It's not on me, because I'm going to have a fucking blast. Yeah. So it's usually it's the tech problems are always in the back of your mind. Like, oh my God, this has to work. Yeah. Please.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I get that. I get that. Okay. So who would you say is the biggest name like on your phone in your contacts list? This is just a question from me. Like, I'm genuinely curious about this.
I have like, because I've also worked for like a couple different news networks, and I've covered like I'm the sports and entertainment reporter as well for news networks throughout the years and stuff, because that's what I do. I'm on air. I'm a broadcaster and personality. So I do the Gunz Show with music, but then I also interview different celebrities and stuff. I have pretty big like David Ortiz. I have his number. He's the Boston Red Sox. Like he'll be he's not on the Hall of Fame yet. I don't think he is yet, but he will be. He might have gotten in last year. I'm trying to think. But, like, I have that too, you know, like a couple band, like, you know, pretty much the bands that I speak with on a regular basis. But, like, to have, like, a Major League Baseball Hall of Famer, that's a pretty legit name. I used to have like, one of the chief of staff for for a major politician.
Damn.
Oh, my God. Wow.
Yeah.
Damn, you're making
like,
all the routes.
Different like senators and stuff like that, because when they would call to come on the show, it's like, or you would dial out to them. So things like that. Yeah, I haven't. But what I do is I change the names in my phone for a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody ever gets my phone, they can't see. Like I have them in different.
Okay.
So a lot of times, like for the main for those huge people, I don't have them saved. Like I don't have people on my phone as just like so and so from this band. Like so the ones that I communicate with a lot, like I don't have that just in case my phone ever goes away or something.
Yeah, I get that.
So yeah, especially before all phones were kind of locked, you know, like you know, now it's harder. It seems to physically break in, but like if you let your friend borrow your phone, I didn't want them to start scrolling through, so I had them in different names and nicknames for people, so I know.
Yeah, almost like coded. Yeah.
Yes, totally. Yes.
Yeah.
So I know you have spoken to a lot of bands, but do you have a band that like you really want to sit down with that you haven't gotten the opportunity to yet?
Yeah, I want to have Tom DeLonge on from Blink-182, or from Angels and Airwaves, I should say. Okay. Because he was always my favorite member of Blink. Although I feel like I'm not closer, but better with Hoppus now because Mark is more interactive and like in the scene still or whatnot. I'd love to talk to Tom. Jimmy Eat World, Jim Adkins. We were supposed to do something a couple months ago. And that didn't, I had to go to Scranton or something. I couldn't make it to Scranton. But like that shows I was willing to go 3 hours just to do a 10-minute interview with the guy. You know what I mean?
That.
Like,
to
help out my show and help out my brand and stuff. So probably like Jimmy Eat World would mean a lot to interview that, and like Tom DeLonge would be cool. Besides that, like I've interviewed everybody I kind of want to, unless it's like Paul McCartney or like Bruce Springsteen. Like that would be cool, you know.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Everybody else I can kind of I've either already interviewed or can kind of continue to interview them if I want.
Yeah, awesome, cool. So what music, because we're all stuck in quarantine, have you been listening to recently?
I've been listening to all sorts of different stuff. I mean, like Dua Lipa I listened to, because when that came out a couple weeks ago, I thought that was interesting, so I was vibing to that.
All right.
I've thrown back like some older 1975. I like the 1975 No Matter What, but I feel like they're pretty good music because some of their songs are slower and like have the synths and stuff. I've been listening to them, but then on other times, obviously the new All Time Low album I'm listening to all the time. Wake Up Sunshine, that's an awesome album. I like the new Knuckle Puck stuff that I've been listening to. Hot Mulligan is a really good band. I really like their latest album. That came out a couple months ago. So it's nothing too much has changed. It's just instead of listening in headphones, I'm kind of just blasting it out loud because you can't go outside.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
awesome.
But so I'm listening to whatever I feel at the moment. You know?
Yeah.
All right. So I know you do Emo Night, right?
Yes, I do the Emo Night Brooklyn's, yeah.
How did that happen? How were you able to get in there?
That was kind of the same thing. They knew, the two guys, Alex and Ethan, knew about the Gunz Show, and they told me, because on the Gunz Show, like, I used to be 3 hours, and it was DJing music as well in between interviews. Okay. And then I cut that down just because I started having like a real job the next morning and stuff, so I couldn't go from 9 p.m. to midnight, so I cut that down. But I was always DJing and playing songs and playing requests, and I still do that, but it can't go into the podcast form. It can only go into the live form because you have to now pay the royalties and stuff like that. So they had heard the Gunz Show. I'm like, 3 hours of DJing and playing music and requests and talking to fans and stuff. That's what it was about. And they're like, hey, we're launching this Emo Night type thing in Brooklyn. Would you be interested? And I've done every single one, I think, except like 2 of them. And we just celebrated our 5-year anniversary.
That's awesome.
Wow.
So it's wild because it started in just a small Brooklyn place that had like maybe like, although we packed it out that first time, so maybe like 100 people. There was a line out the door, 100 people. Okay. And then now like we've sold out Irving Plaza for a couple thousand people. We did Webster Hall in February, which had a couple thousand people there. So, I mean, that's one of my favorite things. I can't wait for this to be over because we do them like every 4 to 6 weeks. And sometimes people, even my friends wouldn't come to every single one because they'd be like, no, it's the same thing over and over. It's really not the same thing, but like it still is fun. And like you get drunk and you hang out and you sing all your favorite songs, you meet people and whatever. Exactly. But I feel like now more than ever, once this stupid coronavirus shit's over, that those things are going to be amazing.
Those are going to sell out.
I cannot wait to party and listen to music and just jam out with so many people out there. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, because that's what like everybody's craving now, just to like be live out shows, there, mosh, live shows, just everything, and that's definitely what
Yeah,
emo night
live
offers.
shows
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, it's gonna be I cannot wait. It's gonna be so freaking cool.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Do you mind if we shift away from like music and what you've been doing for the last couple questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fine. Yep.
So if you were on death row, what would your last meal be and why?
Woo.
With a drink.
And a drink as well.
My last drink would probably be Fireball because I dominated Fireball when it first came out.
Okay.
So I would definitely do
Alright.
Fireball, or maybe like chocolate milk.
Okay.
Something.
All right.
Two different sides of the spectrum.
Exactly. I was about to say two different things.
Maybe
But yeah.
like Fireball to just be like, oh, screw it, like my last
Yeah.
alcohol, you know?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, what if you
chocolate milk,
mixed
which
it?
is chocolate milk, which is just so delicious.
Uh-huh.
Food wise, I love cotton candy ice cream. A lot of people don't like cotton candy ice cream. It's my favorite. It's my favorite ice cream flavor. Maybe that, or like I love like the Boston chicken or Boston market like mashed
Ooh.
potatoes. Those are
Yeah,
so
yeah,
delicious.
yeah.
So maybe something from there
Okay.
would be really good.
All right. That's solid. That's a good one. All right. So if you could live in any like fictional world for a week, where would you live?
You mean like historic or like fictional like
Animated TV show.
Marvel comics type stuff?
Yeah.
I'm not a huge Marvel guy. I like Star Wars. I'm a big Star Wars guy. So probably something
Okay.
Star Wars related.
Alright.
Although that's definitely scary times because I don't think anything good's ever happening to the good
Yeah, I
people in
don't-
Star Wars.
No.
Yeah.
It feels like they're always dealing with something or always on the run. So that probably wouldn't be
Exactly.
best. But I am a huge Star Wars. I'm not into too much fiction stuff. I don't think or I just don't even remember.
Okay.
I mean, it is only a week, so
Exactly.
I think you could
If you
get
can
out
survive a
alive.
week.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I could do Star Wars, yeah.
Okay.
That could be, I think Star Wars would be sick.
Star Wars would be cool, yeah.
So this is the last question. Some say it's the most
Yeah.
important. What's your favorite color?
Orange.
Orange.
No doubt.
Orange.
Okay.
All right. Like a
Orange.
burnt orange, like a neon.
No,
what are you talking
I
about?
love kind of all orange, but more so not like, more like the brighter type orange.
Okay.
Like the
Okay.
cool, I guess maybe like a neon type orange, like a highlighter type orange. Maybe
Yeah,
a
yeah,
little
yeah.
Dark, maybe a little darker than that, but not like, but orange is my favorite. Yeah, definitely. I used to wear orange stuff. Like in school, I would always have be the kid with the orange or something.
Mhm.
Okay.
I'd have different orange jackets or whatnot, or sweatshirts. Like I was a big orange guy for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's definitely my favorite. No, I know hesitation right there. I knew exactly what
you
I
knew
was
it, right?
Orange.
Like you were born
Yeah.
to answer that question.
Yeah,
Exactly.
So that's all the questions we have. Is there anything you want to plug?
Yeah, no, shout out to you guys. This is very cool. Glad you guys started this out. I mean,
Thank you.
everyone's got to start somewhere, and awesome stuff going on there. And I'm excited for you guys and what lies ahead.
Thank
You
you.
guys already have a good following, getting some good bands on as well, so that's awesome.
you.
Thank you so much.
Everybody out there can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. It's The Gunz Show. It's Guns with a Z because it's my last name, The Gunz Show. And then just make sure to go to iTunes. Here's what I want people to do. Go to iTunes because for some reason I have a shit ton of listeners, but nobody's either leaving ratings. I have a 5-star rating, but I don't have a lot of ratings
Uh-huh.
or reviews. Will you write a review, people? Come on. I don't understand why I can't get people to write stuff because we're all lazy. That's the problem. So if you go to iTunes or Spotify, just type in The Gunz Show, subscribe, and just hit 5 stars and write a review. So it could be 2 sentences or a sentence. Guns is awesome. Boom.
Guns is
Review. Perfect.
Perfect.
That's what I need to tell people to do because for some reason I don't know what it is. Something I don't know. Probably because I don't tell my friends to do it. Like I know it's funny because friends will come up to me and be like, "Hey man, can you rate my podcast?" I'm like, yeah, sure, dude, whatever. 5 stars, great. But I don't really do it back to a lot of people. I'm sure if I really networked out and told all my followers to do it, it would. But I don't really tell people to because I'm just like, whatever. They listen, people are gonna like it.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
Everything's The Gunz Show. Follow me on all the socials and all that. So should be
Yeah,
awesome.
cool.
So thanks for staying with us. This was The Gunz Show, and we're the Good Noise Podcast.